Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're good and well. So I'm back from my break from YouTube really, or at least from posting videos on my YouTube channel, and back fresh with some new ideas as well about what I can bring to the channel next year in 2024. And I'm really looking forward to some of the videos I've got coming up just in January alone. I've got a few videos I'm lining up even now. I'm preparing, even now I have a couple of videos recorded just waiting to be edited and to share. One video I'm hoping to share later today. So lots of exciting stuff surrounding the channel, also surrounding some plans I have, and I'm also going to be featuring more on more collaborations as well next year. So lots happening. In terms of content on the channel going forwards, it will be, largely I'm going to be carrying on somewhat as I was towards the end of last year. You're still going to be getting album reviews. You're still going to be getting lots of album lists coming your way, more horror tier lists and that sort of thing will carry on. I am hoping to also restart or to do some coverage on more fantasy books in the new year, since that kind of fell off a bit as we got towards the end of last year. I really only focused on Malazan, to be honest, last year. I'd like to just broaden out a little bit more to other fantasy series in 2024 as well. So look out for some videos around that. That being said, that may not be likely until probably February that I get to the fantasy book stuff, as I've just already got a pretty front-loaded amount of content on both the music and horror fronts. Sorry, I just dropped my pen, for January of 2024. So on that note, music-wise, just to tease you guys with some of the videos that I'm lining up on the music front for January of 2024. We have got 8 albums I missed from 2023 as one of the first videos, which is going to happen in the new year. I've got an album review for the new Cobra Spell album, which came out back in December, coming up very soon. Obviously, I will have other album reviews as new album releases come out in January. I'm planning on doing an album ranking for Queensryche at some point in the month, as well in the month of January. Also doing a top 10 albums of 2015. That is resuming the list that I started to do a while ago on the channel when I used to do all my kind of top 20 countdowns for each year. For 2015, I'm planning on sort of continuing the by the years list that I was doing a while back. And I may choose to do more of those as the year goes on as well. So I might continue going back further from 2015, sort of going back to 2014 in sequence, 2013, so on and so forth. Perhaps making those sometimes collab videos just to make them a little bit more interesting, so you can see other people's tastes in those videos as well as my own, because I'm sure you're starting to get to know my taste quite well and what sort of albums are likely to come up in those lists. So I'd like to invite guests onto it. I think some of the year ends, maybe the year videos, would be cool. I've also now just moving away from the music side briefly, although I've got other music videos I think that I'm planning as well. I have a couple of videos that I haven't done that I wanted to do in 2023, or at least at the end of last year. Now, because of my laptop issues, I had to plan ahead quite carefully, because I was just worried that it was my hard drive that was the problem. It actually turned out it was just my laptop fan. So I got my fan replaced, and that solved all my laptop problems just before I went back home to my family for Christmas. But it meant I didn't really have any time to do as many videos as I wanted to in that sort of year-end period. I just prioritised the big ones, the top 20 albums of the year and the top 10 horror films. That means there's still content carrying over into 2024, which might be good news for you if you were particularly looking forward to those videos and you're like, where are those videos? I wanted to see that video. And the 2 videos I'm talking about are the Horror First Watch tier list that I've delayed for quite a while now, and will be early in January, so you've got that to look forward to. Not going to set a date on it, because actually I'm going to try and fit in seeing this new film Night Swim, so I can add that into the tier list in early January as well. But also, I don't know how many of you remember, how many of you follow my community posts, but if you do, you'll remember there was a top 10 fantasy films of all time video in that list that I wanted to do before year's end, but that looks unlikely. I want to still really do my research into some of these films. So I've got the video properly prepped, so I can share that with you. Still very soon though, that's still going to be a video I intend to do in January. So look out for the top 10 fantasy films of all time. I've not forgotten about it, it's just a bit delayed, but I still intend on sharing with you my top 10 fantasy films of all time. So besides those videos, obviously, you know, the horror films first watch tier list will continue. I have a special video I'm planning later, quite late in January, perhaps right at the end of the month realistically, which is a 80s slasher film tier list. Because I'm trying to work my way through lots of slasher films and re-watching some slashers as well. That video is going to take me a while to really get ready, so that I'm planning it towards the end of the month rather than at the start of the month. So I'm looking forward to sharing an 80s slasher tier list with you. Just to point out and to stress, that isn't any slasher films from the big three franchises. I'm planning to do that video a bit later in the year. But for now, that will be sort of lots of 80s, kind of some standalone slasher films, some more famous 80s slasher films, all kind of mixed together. It's going to be an interesting video. So look out for that towards the end of January and my point of view on just slashers generally as well. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that, you know, I'm finding more and more that there is a, for me, I'm getting more and more into symphonic metal at the moment, particularly off the back of that symphonic metal albums video that I did my top 10 list. And partially because of that, I won't lie, because that video did so well, it just kind of made me think, well, you know, maybe I've tapped into something. But also I have a genuine interest now in this subgenre, and I'm sort of finding out more and more about bands and albums I've missed from these bands. That I've just been discovering some great albums that I've just straight up missed. I have thought about doing a new series, rather like I did with the Shoegaze Files, that's dedicated to symphonic metal. It could be called something like Symphonic Sundays, something like that. Haven't completely decided on the name yet, but it will probably be either starting very late in January or early in February at the moment. Again, I've got some decisions to make around how I would map out a series. If I really want to make it something of a success, I'm going to have to put some thinking into it. I think if I learned anything from the Shoegaze Files, it was difficult to do that piecemeal. It was easier to have videos much more planned ahead of time, particularly if you're trying to involve guests and collaborations and interviews. It's easier to plan that some way ahead of schedule. So that won't be, you know, particularly early in the new year, that series, if it happens. It's more likely to be a little bit later. I would say February, early February, probably at the earliest, because I'd like to put some real planning in place to start to set up maybe a few episodes before it really gets underway. So I've just got it kind of, just feels like it's more set. And then we'll just see how it does. I mean, I'm not saying it will be a permanent series. It probably won't be. Most of my series are usually temporary series. I like to float them out there, see how they do. But yeah, one I'm really excited about doing. I've had some ideas for guests. And, you know, obviously, if you expect me to book people like Floor Jansen, that's probably not going to happen. But we'll see what happens, because I think it could be a really interesting series. I think it's an interesting subgenre. I know a few out there say it's not a subgenre. To me, it kind of is, though. It is its own sort of, it's pretty distinctive, I think, to me anyway. I do think you have, you know, those bands that you could put into sort of, you know, a genre, although no band always fits genres necessarily perfectly well. So anyway, off that topic now, but yeah, that's something I'm thinking about doing. So that's just some teasers of things I've got to come. I see 2024 as a bit of continuation from last year on the channel, really. I'm not making any radical changes, not doing anything particularly different. I'll still do regular album review content. I'll still do album lists, various album lists like rankings of bands, tier lists, and I'll still continue horror and fantasy content as well. So it's still just like really a continuation of last year rather than anything new. I'm not sort of making radical changes, but I have some new ideas for things, and I am just looking forward. I'm very excited about the new year and what's going to happen on the channel. I'm going to be, certainly one thing I am going to do is put some real effort in to this year and seeing where we get to on the Green Man. So anyway, thanks all again for tuning in. I've really enjoyed this year. I've got hopefully one more video to come in this year before we reach 2024. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that one. It's kind of a different sort of video from anything I think I've done recently. So yeah, I will be sharing that with you shortly. Otherwise, until then, bye for now.